The Real Reason Why Relationships Fail and How to Make Yours Last, written and published by Maxwell Reed from Attraction Unlocked. Why do relationships fail? It's a question almost everyone has asked at some point, whether after their own heartbreak or while watching someone else's love story unravel. Love is often romanticized as the ultimate solution, the glue that holds two people together. But the truth is, love alone isn't enough to sustain a relationship. Compatibility isn't either. The real answer lies in something deeper: effort, understanding, and a commitment to mutual growth. Relationships that last don't happen by accident, they're built intentionally. Many people believe that if they just find the right person, everything will fall into place. That perfect match will sweep them off their feet, and the relationship will flourish effortlessly. It's a comforting idea, but it's also one of the biggest misconceptions about love. Even the most compatible couples face challenges. The reality is, relationships thrive not because of perfection but because of how two people navigate the imperfections together. Effort is what turns love into something enduring. Understanding transforms conflict into connection. Growth ensures that a partnership remains dynamic, not stagnant. This audiobook is here to help you uncover the real reasons relationships fail and, more importantly, how to make yours last. Whether you're in a relationship now, reflecting on past ones, or preparing for a future partnership, you'll find insights here that go beyond the surface. You'll learn to identify the common pitfalls that undermine love and how to avoid them. You'll gain practical tools to address issues before they grow into insurmountable problems. Most importantly, you'll discover how to create a connection that not only survives but thrives, one that becomes a source of joy, strength, and inspiration in your life. Let me tell you a story about Claire and Michael. When they first met, their connection was electric. They laughed, dreamed, and supported each other in ways that felt effortless. But as time went on, the cracks began to show. Small arguments turned into big fights. They stopped communicating as openly, and a quiet resentment started to build. Both of them felt stuck, still in love, but unsure how to bridge the growing divide. One day, during an especially tense argument, Claire said something that stopped Michael in his tracks. "I don't feel like we're on the same team anymore." That moment became a turning point. They realized they had been treating their issues as battles to win rather than challenges to face together. Instead of focusing on who was right or wrong, they decided to focus on understanding each other. They started communicating openly about their needs and fears. They set aside time each week to check in with each other, not just about logistics but about their feelings and goals. Slowly, the walls between them came down, and they began to rebuild their relationship on a stronger foundation. Claire and Michael's story is a reminder that no relationship is immune to challenges. Even the strongest connections can falter without care and effort. But it's also a testament to the power of intentionality. When two people commit to understanding and growing together, they can turn even the most difficult situations into opportunities for deeper connection. Throughout this audiobook, we'll dive into the underlying reasons relationships fail, reasons that often go unnoticed until it's too late. We'll explore the role of communication, the impact of emotional disconnection, and the way unspoken expectations can create tension. You'll learn how to recognize early warning signs, navigate conflict constructively, and cultivate habits that foster long-term happiness. Along the way, you'll hear stories of couples who overcame struggles and built thriving partnerships, proving that it's never too late to make a change. The path to a lasting relationship isn't about avoiding conflict or pretending everything is perfect. It's about embracing the messiness of love and committing to work through it together. It's about learning to listen, to compromise, and to show up for each other in ways that matter. It's about understanding that a strong relationship doesn't just happen, it's created, day by day, through the choices you make and the effort you put in. So, if you've ever wondered why relationships fail, or if you're searching for ways to make yours stronger, you're in the right place. By the end of this audiobook, you'll have a deeper understanding of what it takes to build a partnership that lasts. You'll walk away with actionable strategies to create a connection that endures, not just through the highs but also through the inevitable challenges that come with being human. Relationships are one of the most rewarding and transformative parts of life, but they're also among the most complex. The good news is, you don't have to navigate this journey alone. Together, we'll explore the hidden dynamics of love, uncover the tools for lasting connection, and inspire you to create a relationship that brings out the best in both you and your partner. Let's get started. The love you've always wanted, and the relationship you deserve, is within your reach. Chapter 1. The foundation of a failing relationship. Every relationship starts with hope, excitement, and the belief that this time, it will be different. But as time passes, cracks often begin to form, small, subtle issues that, if left unaddressed, can grow into insurmountable obstacles. Why do so many relationships fail despite the initial connection? The answer often lies in the foundations. Relationships falter not because love disappears overnight but because key elements like communication, expectations, and emotional connection are neglected. One of the most common reasons relationships fail is a lack of effective communication. At the beginning of a relationship, communication often feels effortless. Conversations flow, laughter is easy, and misunderstandings seem rare. But as life becomes more complex, communication can falter. Partners might assume the other knows what they're thinking or feeling, leading to unmet needs and growing resentment. Over time, small misunderstandings can escalate into bigger conflicts, and the once effortless connection starts to feel strained. Unmet expectations are another major factor. Every person enters a relationship with a set of unspoken hopes and beliefs about how things should unfold. These expectations might stem from personal values, past experiences, or societal influences. But when those expectations go unmet, or worse, unspoken, they can create tension. For example, one partner might expect regular expressions of affection, while the other assumes that their love is understood without the need for constant affirmation. Without clear communication, these mismatched expectations can lead to feelings of disappointment and frustration. Emotional disconnection is perhaps the most insidious issue. It often begins subtly. Partners become less present with each other, prioritize work or other obligations, and slowly drift apart. What starts as a busy week becomes a pattern, and before long, the emotional closeness that once defined the relationship is replaced by a sense of distance. When this disconnection goes unnoticed, it becomes increasingly difficult to bridge the gap, leaving both partners feeling isolated. These cracks often start small, making them easy to overlook. Early warning signs, such as recurring arguments about minor issues or feelings of being misunderstood, are sometimes brushed aside in the hope that things will improve. But small issues rarely resolve themselves. Instead, they tend to snowball. For example, a disagreement about how to spend free time might reflect deeper concerns about mismatched priorities or values. If these underlying issues aren't addressed, they can grow into major sources of conflict. Let me share the story of Lisa and Matt, a couple who ignored early warning signs and later struggled to save their relationship. When they first started dating, Lisa noticed that Matt often avoided discussing his feelings. At the time, she didn't think much of it, assuming he would open up more as their relationship progressed. Matt, on the other hand, felt overwhelmed by Lisa's need for reassurance but kept quiet to avoid conflict. These small cracks in communication seemed insignificant during the honeymoon phase, but as their relationship deepened, they became harder to ignore. Over time, Lisa began to feel emotionally neglected, while Matt felt suffocated by Lisa's increasing demands for connection. Instead of addressing their issues head-on, they both retreated into their own corners, hoping the problems would resolve on their own. By the time they realized how much distance had grown between them, their relationship was on the brink of collapse. It wasn't until they sought help and learned to communicate openly that they began to rebuild their connection, but the process was far more challenging than it would have been if they'd addressed those early warning signs. Lisa and Matt's story highlights the importance of recognizing foundational cracks before they grow. Ignoring red flags or brushing aside small issues might feel easier in the moment, but it often sets the stage for larger problems down the road. Relationships require constant attention and care, and addressing concerns early can prevent them from becoming insurmountable. Unrealistic ideals and societal pressures can also contribute to relationship failure. Movies, social media, and cultural narratives often paint an idealized picture of love, one where everything is easy, passion never fades, and partners intuitively meet each other's needs. These unrealistic expectations can create feelings of inadequacy when real relationships inevitably face challenges. Partners might begin to question their connection, wondering why their relationship doesn't look like the perfect ones they see on Instagram or in romantic comedies. This comparison can erode satisfaction and make normal ups and downs feel like signs of failure. To prevent these foundational cracks from undermining your relationship, it's essential to approach love with intentionality and self-awareness. Start by fostering open communication. Make it a habit to check in with each other regularly, not just about logistics but about feelings, needs, and concerns. When disagreements arise, focus on understanding each other's perspectives rather than assigning blame. Remember, it's not about being right, it's about staying connected. Managing expectations is equally important. Take the time to discuss your hopes and values early in the relationship. What does love look like to you? How do you express affection? What are your long-term goals? By aligning your expectations and being honest about what you need, you can avoid many of the misunderstandings that lead to disappointment. Finally, prioritize emotional connection. Make time for each other, even when life gets busy. Small gestures, like sending a thoughtful text or planning a date night, can help maintain closeness. Don't wait for a special occasion to show appreciation. Consistently investing in the relationship will help keep the bond strong. Recognizing the cracks in a relationship's foundation is the first step to preventing failure. By addressing communication issues, managing expectations, and prioritizing emotional connection, you can build a relationship that's not only resilient but also deeply fulfilling. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the role of communication and how it can make or break a relationship. For now, remember this: the strongest relationships aren't perfect, they're the ones where both partners are committed to repairing the cracks before they grow too big to fix. Chapter 2. Communication. The bridge or the barrier. If there's one element that can make or break a relationship, it's communication. Communication isn't just about exchanging words. It's about understanding, connection, and creating a safe space where both partners feel heard and valued. At its best, communication acts as a bridge that brings people closer together. At its worst, it becomes a barrier, fostering misunderstandings, resentment, and distance. The way couples communicate, or fail to, can set the tone for the entire relationship. Why is communication so pivotal? It's because relationships thrive on mutual understanding. Without it, even the strongest love can falter. Through communication, partners express their needs, resolve conflicts, and build intimacy. Yet, many couples struggle to communicate effectively, often falling into common pitfalls that undermine their connection. One of the most damaging pitfalls is criticism. When partners criticize each other, they attack character rather than addressing behavior. For instance, saying, "You're so selfish," is far more harmful than saying, "I feel hurt when you don't consider my feelings." Criticism often puts the other person on the defensive, making it harder to resolve the issue at hand. Defensiveness is another communication barrier. When one partner feels attacked, their natural reaction may be to defend themselves or shift blame. This can escalate conflicts, as neither person feels truly heard. Instead of addressing the problem, the conversation becomes a tug-of-war over who's right and who's wrong. Avoiding tough conversations is equally detrimental. Many couples fear conflict and choose to sweep issues under the rug, hoping they'll resolve themselves. But unspoken grievances have a way of festering. Over time, these unresolved issues can create a rift, as partners begin to feel disconnected or resentful. So, how can couples navigate these pitfalls and communicate in a way that strengthens their bond? The answer lies in adopting tools for effective communication. Active listening is one of the most powerful skills a couple can develop. This means truly focusing on what your partner is saying without interrupting, judging, or planning your response while they're speaking. It's about being present and showing that you value their perspective. Sometimes, repeating back what you've heard can help ensure clarity. For example, "What I'm hearing is that you feel overwhelmed when I don't help with chores. Is that right?" Using "I" statements is another effective tool. These statements shift the focus from blame to personal experience, making it easier for your partner to understand how their actions impact you. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, I feel unheard when I'm sharing something important, and it seems like you're distracted. This approach fosters empathy and reduces defensiveness. Timing also plays a critical role in effective communication. Choosing the right moment to discuss sensitive topics can make a huge difference. Bringing up an issue when emotions are running high or during a stressful moment can backfire. Instead, wait until both of you are calm and in a space where you can talk openly. A simple, "Can we set aside some time to talk about something that's been on my mind?" can help create a more productive environment. Let me share a story about Rachel and Ben, a couple who struggled with communication but transformed their relationship by learning to truly listen to each other. Rachel often felt unappreciated because Ben rarely acknowledged her efforts at home. Ben, on the other hand, felt criticized whenever Rachel brought up her feelings. Their conversations would quickly devolve into arguments, leaving both of them feeling unheard and frustrated. One day, after yet another fight, they decided to try a different approach. They agreed to sit down and take turns speaking without interrupting. When it was Rachel's turn, she used I statements to express her feelings. "I feel unappreciated when the work I do at home goes unnoticed. It makes me feel like my efforts don't matter." Ben, instead of responding defensively, practiced active listening. He repeated back what Rachel said to make sure he understood her. "You feel unappreciated because I haven't been acknowledging the work you do. Is that right?" For the first time, Rachel felt heard. When it was Ben's turn, he shared his perspective. "I've been feeling overwhelmed at work, and sometimes I shut down when I get home. I didn't realize how that was affecting you." This conversation marked a turning point for Rachel and Ben. By listening to each other without judgment and focusing on understanding rather than winning the argument, they were able to address their issues and rebuild their connection. Rachel and Ben's story illustrates an essential truth. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about creating understanding. When partners take the time to listen, express themselves clearly, and approach conversations with empathy, they strengthen the foundation of their relationship. To apply these tools in your own life, start by practicing active listening in everyday interactions. When your partner speaks, give them your full attention, and avoid jumping to conclusions. Use I statements to express your feelings, and be mindful of your timing. Remember, the goal of communication isn't to win the conversation, it's to foster connection and mutual understanding. Effective communication takes practice, but the rewards are well worth the effort. When you and your partner learn to communicate openly and respectfully, you create a relationship where both of you feel valued and supported. In the next chapter, we'll explore the concept of emotional disconnection and how to rebuild intimacy when it feels like you're drifting apart. For now, remember this: communication is the bridge that connects two hearts. When you make the effort to cross it together, you'll find that even the toughest conversations can bring you closer. Chapter 3. The Silent Killer: Emotional Disconnection. Emotional disconnection is one of the most insidious threats to a relationship. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it creeps in slowly, often unnoticed, until the connection that once felt so vibrant begins to feel distant and cold. It starts with small moments. A conversation that doesn't feel meaningful, a hug that feels less warm, or a lingering sense that something is missing. Over time, these moments compound, leaving both partners feeling isolated and unfulfilled. Emotional disconnection is the silent killer of relationships because it erodes the foundation of intimacy and support that love is built on. What does emotional disconnection look like? It manifests in different ways for different couples. Some partners might feel like they're drifting apart, no longer sharing their thoughts, dreams, or even daily experiences. Others may notice a loss of physical or emotional intimacy. Touches become less frequent, conversations more surface level, and the excitement that once defined the relationship fades. A lack of support is another hallmark of disconnection. When one partner feels they can no longer rely on the other for understanding, encouragement, or comfort, it creates a deep emotional void. One of the major contributors to emotional disconnection is unresolved past wounds. These wounds could stem from earlier conflicts in the relationship, personal insecurities, or even childhood experiences. For example, A partner who grew up in a household where emotions were dismissed might struggle to express their feelings, leading to frustration and distance. Unmet emotional needs can also fuel disconnection. If one partner feels their need for affection, validation, or companionship isn't being met, they may start to withdraw, creating a cycle of disengagement. Let me share the story of Elena and Marcus, a couple who faced emotional disconnection but managed to rebuild their bond. Elena and Marcus had been married for 10 years. At first, their relationship was filled with laughter, passion, and shared dreams. But as the years went by, life got busy. Marcus threw himself into work, while Elena focused on raising their 2 children. Their conversations became transactional, discussing schedules, chores, and bills but rarely delving into how they were feeling. Elena started to feel invisible. She missed the way Marcus used to look at her and ask about her day. Marcus, on the other hand, felt overwhelmed by the pressures of work and providing for his family. He didn't realize how distant he had become. The turning point came when Elena broke down in tears during a rare evening alone together. "I feel like I've lost you," she said. Her vulnerability caught Marcus off guard, but it also opened his eyes to how disconnected they had become. Determined to repair their bond, Elena and Marcus decided to prioritize rebuilding their emotional intimacy. They began by having honest conversations about their feelings and needs. Marcus admitted that he often avoided emotional topics because he didn't know how to respond, while Elena shared how much she longed for his presence and attention. They agreed to set aside time each week for uninterrupted one-on-one time, whether it was a date night or simply sitting together after the kids went to bed. Over time, they started practicing vulnerability and empathy. Elena learned to express her feelings without blaming Marcus, and Marcus worked on listening without trying to fix the problem. They also made an effort to show appreciation for each other, whether through small gestures like a thoughtful text or simply saying, "Thank you," more often. These steps helped them rebuild their connection, and the warmth and closeness they once had began to return. The story of Elena and Marcus illustrates that emotional disconnection doesn't have to be the end of a relationship. With effort, vulnerability, and empathy, couples can bridge the gap and rediscover the intimacy they've lost. If you're feeling emotionally disconnected in your relationship, there are steps you can take to rebuild intimacy. The first step is to acknowledge the distance and approach it with honesty and openness. This can be difficult, as it requires both partners to confront their feelings and take responsibility for their role in the disconnection. But addressing the issue directly is essential for moving forward. Vulnerability is key to reconnecting emotionally. Sharing your fears, desires, and feelings, even when it feels uncomfortable, creates a space for intimacy to grow. When you open up, you invite your partner to do the same, fostering a sense of mutual trust and understanding. Remember, vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness, it's a strength that deepens connection. Empathy is equally important. Try to understand your partner's perspective without judgment. Even if you don't agree with how they feel, acknowledging their emotions can go a long way in rebuilding trust. Simple phrases like, "I can see how that would be hard for you," or, "Thank you for sharing that with me," show that you're listening and care about their experience. Prioritizing quality time is another crucial step. In today's busy world, it's easy to let work, kids, or other responsibilities take precedence over your relationship. But emotional intimacy requires consistent effort. Set aside dedicated time to connect with your partner, whether it's through date nights, shared hobbies, or even a nightly ritual like talking about your day. The goal is to create moments where you can be fully present with each other. Rebuilding emotional intimacy takes time, but the rewards are immeasurable. When couples make the effort to reconnect, they often find that their relationship becomes even stronger than before. Emotional intimacy is the glue that holds relationships together. It fosters trust, deepens love, and creates a sense of partnership that can weather any storm. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of conflict in relationships and how to navigate disagreements in a way that strengthens rather than weakens your bond. For now, remember this. Emotional disconnection may feel like a quiet drift apart, but with vulnerability, empathy, and intentional effort, you can rebuild the bridge that brings you back together. Chapter 4. The role of conflict, healthy versus destructive. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. No matter how compatible two people may be, disagreements will arise. What sets strong relationships apart isn't the absence of conflict but how it's handled. Conflict, when approached with care and intention, can strengthen a relationship by fostering understanding and growth. However, unresolved or poorly managed conflict can erode trust, create emotional distance, and, over time, undermine even the deepest connection. Unresolved conflict is like a splinter in the relationship. It may start small, a disagreement over household responsibilities, unmet expectations, or a misunderstanding, but if left unaddressed, it festers. Partners might avoid bringing it up to keep the peace or because they're unsure how to navigate the conversation. Over time, these unresolved issues pile up, leading to resentment and bitterness. When trust starts to waver, so does the sense of safety in the relationship, leaving both partners feeling disconnected and misunderstood. The difference between healthy disagreements and toxic arguments lies in how they're approached. Healthy disagreements focus on the issue at hand and aim to find a solution. They're marked by mutual respect, active listening, and a willingness to understand the other person's perspective. Toxic arguments, on the other hand, often involve blame, criticism, and an us versus them mentality. Instead of working together to resolve the problem, partners may attack each other, escalating the conflict and causing lasting damage. For example, imagine a disagreement about spending habits. In a healthy disagreement, one partner might say, "I'm feeling stressed about our finances and would like us to come up with a plan together." This approach invites collaboration and focuses on the problem rather than the person. In a toxic argument, the same concern might be expressed as, "You're so irresponsible with money. Do you even care about our future?" This kind of criticism is likely to provoke defensiveness and make the issue harder to resolve. Learning to resolve conflicts constructively is essential for maintaining trust and connection. One of the most important techniques is staying calm. When emotions run high, it's easy to say things you don't mean or escalate the argument unnecessarily. Taking a moment to breathe, step back, or even suggest a brief pause can help both partners approach the conversation with a clearer head. Focusing on solutions rather than blame is another key strategy. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, shift the conversation toward what can be done to address the issue. For instance, if one partner feels neglected because of long work hours, a constructive approach might be to discuss how they can spend more quality time together. This solution-focused mindset not only resolves the immediate conflict but also strengthens the partnership by reinforcing the idea that you're a team. Avoiding blame is also crucial. Blame puts the other person on the defensive and shifts the focus away from the issue itself. Using "I" statements can help you express your feelings without assigning fault. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel unheard when I share my thoughts, and it would mean a lot to me if we could talk about this." This approach fosters empathy and encourages a more productive conversation. Let me share the story of Natalie and Sam, a couple who transformed their relationship by shifting from confrontation to collaboration during conflicts. Natalie and Sam had been together for 5 years, and while they loved each other deeply, their arguments often spiraled out of control. Sam would shut down when things got heated, while Natalie felt compelled to keep pushing until they resolved the issue. This dynamic left both of them feeling frustrated and disconnected. One evening, after a particularly intense argument about their weekend plans, Natalie decided to try a different approach. Instead of continuing to push, she said, "I think we're both feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we take a break and talk about this when we're calmer?" Sam agreed, and they revisited the conversation the next day. This time, they focused on understanding each other's perspectives rather than proving who was right. Natalie shared that she felt disappointed when Sam canceled plans last minute, and Sam explained that he sometimes felt pressured to commit when he wasn't sure of his availability. By approaching the conversation with empathy and a focus on solutions, Natalie and Sam were able to come up with a compromise. They agreed to communicate more clearly about their plans and to check in with each other before making commitments. This shift in how they handled conflict not only resolved their immediate issue but also strengthened their trust and teamwork. Natalie and Sam's story highlights the power of collaboration during disagreements. Conflict doesn't have to be a source of division, It can be an opportunity to grow closer when both partners are willing to approach it with care. To apply these techniques in your own relationship, start by practicing active listening during disagreements. Instead of preparing your response while your partner is speaking, focus on truly understanding their perspective. Acknowledge their feelings, even if you don't agree with them, and look for common ground. Next, prioritize solutions over blame. When discussing a problem, frame your concerns in a way that invites collaboration. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed by household responsibilities, you might say, "I've been feeling stressed about keeping up with everything at home. Can we come up with a way to share the workload more evenly?" This approach not only addresses the issue but also reinforces the idea that you're working together as a team. Finally, remember that timing matters. If a disagreement arises during a particularly stressful moment, it's okay to pause and revisit the conversation later. This doesn't mean avoiding the issue. It means giving both partners the chance to approach it with a calmer mindset. Conflict is a natural part of any relationship, but it doesn't have to be destructive. When handled constructively, it can deepen trust, improve communication, and strengthen the bond between partners. In the next chapter, we'll explore the impact of expectations on relationships and how to align them for greater harmony. For now, remember this: conflict doesn't have to break your relationship. It can be the very thing that makes it stronger when approached with care and collaboration. Chapter 5. Expectations versus reality. How misaligned expectations hurt relationships. Expectations are a natural part of any relationship. From small things like how often you text each other to big picture goals like marriage or children, expectations shape how you approach your partnership. But when those expectations are unspoken or unrealistic, they can lead to resentment, disappointment, and even the breakdown of the relationship. Misaligned expectations don't just create misunderstandings. They can make both partners feel unheard, unsupported, and ultimately dissatisfied. Unspoken expectations are often the root of many conflicts. They stem from personal beliefs, past experiences, or cultural norms, and we carry them into relationships without realizing they might not align with our partners. For example, one person might assume that weekends will always be spent together because that's how their parents modeled love, while the other values individual time to recharge. Without communication, these differing expectations can lead to hurt feelings and frustration. Unrealistic expectations are another major pitfall. The idea of a perfect partner or relationship, one that fulfills all your needs without effort, is a fantasy perpetuated by movies, social media, and societal ideals. When reality doesn't live up to these lofty expectations, disappointment sets in. For example, expecting a partner to always know what you need without expressing it is not only unfair but also sets them up to fail. Unrealistic expectations create pressure that can make even the strongest connections feel strained. Aligning values, goals, and visions is essential for any thriving relationship. When two people are working toward different futures, it creates a sense of disconnection and instability. Take, for instance, a couple where one person dreams of traveling the world while the other wants to settle down in a single city. If these visions aren't discussed and aligned early on, they can become sources of conflict down the road. Aligning expectations doesn't mean compromising your core values. It means finding common ground where both partners feel supported and fulfilled. Let me share the story of Sophia and Daniel, a couple who found harmony by redefining their expectations of each other. Sophia and Daniel had been dating for 2 years and were deeply in love, but they often found themselves arguing over what seemed like small issues. Sophia expected Daniel to surprise her with romantic gestures regularly, while Daniel thought his steady presence and practical support were enough to show his love. Meanwhile, Daniel felt frustrated that Sophia didn't take more interest in his hobbies, which he saw as a way to bond. After one particularly heated argument, they decided to seek advice. During a guided conversation, they realized their expectations weren't being communicated clearly. Sophia shared that grand gestures made her feel appreciated because they reminded her of how her parents expressed love. Daniel explained that his love language was different. He showed his care by being reliable and dependable. Understanding this difference helped them redefine their expectations. Sophia began to appreciate Daniel's steady efforts, while Daniel made a conscious effort to plan occasional surprises for Sophia. They also discussed their long-term goals and discovered that while their visions weren't identical, they could be complementary. Sophia's desire for travel aligned with Daniel's interest in experiencing new cultures, and they decided to plan trips that balanced adventure with stability. By aligning their expectations and finding ways to meet each other halfway, Sophia and Daniel strengthened their bond and found greater harmony in their relationship. Managing and communicating expectations effectively is key to avoiding disappointment. Start by reflecting on your own expectations. Are they realistic? Are they based on your values or influenced by societal pressure? Once you've identified your expectations, share them openly with your partner. Use clear and specific language to avoid misunderstandings. For example, instead of saying, "I need more attention," try, "It would mean a lot to me if we could spend a few hours together each weekend without distractions." Encourage your partner to share their expectations as well. Listen actively and ask questions to understand their perspective. This isn't about debating whose expectations are right. It's about finding common ground and building a shared vision for your relationship. When conflicts arise, revisit these conversations and adjust your expectations as needed. Relationships are dynamic, and what worked in one season of life may need to evolve in another. Another important aspect of managing expectations is learning to accept imperfection. No relationship is flawless, and no partner can meet every need all the time. Instead of focusing on what's missing, celebrate the strengths of your relationship and the efforts your partner makes. Gratitude fosters positivity and reduces the pressure to meet unrealistic ideals. It's also helpful to establish rituals and routines that reinforce your shared expectations. For example, if quality time is important to both of you, set aside a regular date night or plan activities you enjoy together. These rituals create consistency and help you stay aligned, even when life gets busy. The takeaway is simple. Relationships thrive when expectations are clear, realistic, and shared. Misaligned or unspoken expectations can create unnecessary tension, but with open communication and mutual understanding, they become opportunities to grow closer. In the next chapter, we'll explore how neglect and complacency can damage relationships and what steps you can take to keep the connection alive. For now, remember this. Aligning expectations isn't about compromise, it's about creating a partnership where both people feel seen, valued, and supported. Chapter 6. The Danger of Neglect. How Complacency Leads to Failure. Neglect is one of the quietest yet most damaging forces in a relationship. It doesn't arrive with fanfare or obvious warning signs. Instead, it creeps in slowly, hidden behind busy schedules, routines, and the demands of daily life. Partners stop prioritizing each other, small moments of connection dwindle, and before long, what once felt like a vibrant and supportive partnership starts to feel hollow. Neglect, whether emotional, physical, or relational, is a major factor in relationship breakdowns because it erodes the foundation of intimacy and trust that keeps love alive. Emotional neglect is often the most insidious. It happens when partners stop sharing their thoughts and feelings, choosing instead to keep things to themselves or assume the other won't understand. Over time, this lack of emotional availability creates a sense of distance, leaving one or both partners feeling unseen and unsupported. Physical neglect, meanwhile, manifests in the decline of affection and intimacy, those hugs, kisses, and simple touches that say, "I see you, and I care." Relational neglect encompasses both of these, as well as the overall failure to nurture the relationship itself, neglecting date nights, shared activities, or even the small rituals that once brought joy. Routines and life stressors are often to blame for this gradual disconnection. Careers, children, and other responsibilities can take precedence, making it easy to push the relationship to the back burner. While these priorities are important, they shouldn't come at the expense of the partnership. Love, like any living thing, requires consistent care to flourish. When partners take each other for granted, assuming the relationship will maintain itself, they unknowingly set the stage for dissatisfaction and disconnection. Let me share the story of Mia and Jason, a couple who found themselves drifting apart after years of marriage. When they first started dating, they couldn't get enough of each other. They stayed up late talking, planned spontaneous getaways, and prioritized time together no matter what. But as their careers advanced and their family grew, those moments became fewer and farther between. Dinner conversations turned into logistical discussions about work schedules and their kids' activities. Date nights were replaced by nights in front of the TV, too tired to talk. Mia began to feel like they were roommates rather than partners, while Jason felt overwhelmed by the demands of work and home life. One evening, after a particularly frustrating day, Mia decided to address how she was feeling. "I miss us," she told Jason. "I feel like we're just going through the motions, and I want to feel connected to you again." Jason admitted he had been feeling the same way but hadn't known how to fix it. That conversation became a turning point for them. Together, they made a plan to rekindle their connection. They started small, setting aside 20 minutes each evening to talk without distractions. They scheduled a weekly date night, alternating who planned it, so it became something they both looked forward to. They also made an effort to show appreciation for each other in small ways. Jason started leaving Mia notes of encouragement before her busy days, and Mia surprised Jason with his favorite meals when she knew he'd had a tough week. These seemingly minor acts reignited their passion and reminded them why they fell in love in the first place. Mia and Jason's story illustrates that neglect doesn't have to be a relationship's downfall. With intention and effort, partners can reverse the effects of complacency and create a connection that feels alive and fulfilling. If you're feeling the effects of neglect in your relationship, the first step is to acknowledge it. This can be a difficult conversation to have, but it's crucial for moving forward. Start by expressing how you feel without placing blame. For example, "I've noticed that we haven't been spending as much time together, and I miss that. I'd love to find ways to reconnect." This approach invites collaboration rather than defensiveness. Rekindling connection requires intentional action. Begin by carving out dedicated time for your relationship, even if it's just a few minutes each day. Consistency is key. Regular moments of connection help rebuild intimacy and remind both partners that the relationship is a priority. Whether it's a morning coffee ritual, an evening walk, or a weekly date night, these moments create opportunities to reconnect and recharge your bond. Another powerful way to combat neglect is to revisit what initially brought you together. Think back to the activities you enjoyed as a couple or the things that made you laugh and feel close. Reintroducing these elements into your relationship can reignite the spark and create new memories to cherish. Showing appreciation is also essential. Over time, it's easy to take your partner's efforts for granted, but small acts of gratitude can go a long way in making them feel valued. A simple "thank you" or a heartfelt compliment can remind your partner that their presence and contributions matter. Gratitude fosters positivity and helps counteract the effects of neglect. Finally, be patient with the process. Rekindling a connection takes time, especially if neglect has been present for a while. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and celebrate the small wins along the way. Each step you take toward prioritizing your relationship strengthens the foundation for long-term happiness. The takeaway is clear. Love requires consistent care and attention to flourish. Neglect may be silent, but its impact is profound. By addressing it head-on and taking intentional steps to nurture your connection, you can breathe new life into your relationship. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of individual growth in relationships and how supporting each other's dreams can strengthen your bond. For now, remember this: complacency doesn't have to be the end. With effort and intention, you can create a relationship that feels vibrant, supportive, and full of love. Chapter 7. The power of individual growth in a relationship. A thriving relationship is built not just on shared experiences and mutual affection but also on the growth of each individual within it. Personal growth is essential for a partnership to flourish because it allows both people to bring their best selves to the relationship. When both partners are growing, the relationship evolves and deepens. But when personal growth is stifled, it can lead to stagnation, resentment, and even the loss of connection. Maintaining individual identity is crucial. Too often, people lose themselves in their relationships, prioritizing their partner's needs and desires at the expense of their own. While compromise is an important part of any partnership, losing touch with who you are and what you want can create imbalance and dissatisfaction. A relationship should enhance your sense of self, not overshadow it. When you abandon your passions, goals, or individuality, it not only affects your personal fulfillment but also reduces what you bring to the relationship. One of the biggest misconceptions about relationships is the idea that you must do everything together to maintain closeness. While shared experiences are important, so is having space to grow independently. When partners support each other's dreams and interests, it fosters respect and admiration. It also prevents the relationship from feeling suffocating, creating a dynamic where both people feel free to pursue their ambitions without fear of being misunderstood or judged. Let me share the story of Rachel and David, a couple who found strength in supporting each other's personal growth. Rachel was a talented artist who had always dreamed of showcasing her work in galleries, but after getting married and starting a family, she put her dreams on hold. David, meanwhile, was passionate about fitness and had been considering training for a triathlon but worried that it would take too much time away from his family. For years, they focused solely on their shared responsibilities, but both began to feel restless and unfulfilled. Their conversations became more about logistics than dreams, and they started to drift apart. One day, after a candid discussion about their feelings, they decided to make a change. David encouraged Rachel to take art classes and prepare for a local exhibition, while Rachel supported David in carving out time to train for the triathlon. They agreed to rearrange their schedules to accommodate each other's pursuits and even involved their children in cheering them on. The result was transformative. Rachel felt a renewed sense of purpose and pride when her artwork was finally displayed, and David's dedication to his training reignited his confidence and energy. Their relationship also benefited. They found themselves reconnecting on a deeper level, sharing their progress and celebrating each other's wins. By supporting each other's growth, Rachel and David strengthened their bond and rediscovered the joy of being partners in both life and dreams. Rachel and David's story highlights an important truth. A healthy relationship allows both partners to grow and thrive as individuals. Supporting each other's goals doesn't mean sacrificing the relationship. It means investing in its long-term health. When both partners feel fulfilled in their personal lives, they bring that positivity and energy back into the relationship. To grow individually while growing together, start by encouraging each other's passions. Show genuine interest in your partner's goals, even if they differ from your own. Ask questions, offer support, and celebrate their achievements. This creates an environment of mutual respect and admiration, which strengthens the relationship. Setting aside time for individual pursuits is also essential. Whether it's pursuing a hobby, advancing in a career, or spending time with friends, having space to focus on yourself prevents the relationship from feeling all-consuming. At the same time, make sure to share your growth with your partner. Discuss what you're learning, the challenges you're facing, and how your journey is shaping you. This keeps the connection strong and allows your partner to share in your progress. Independence doesn't mean isolation. While personal growth requires some degree of autonomy, it's also important to involve your partner in your journey. For example, if you're learning a new skill, invite your partner to join you occasionally or share your milestones. This fosters a sense of teamwork and keeps your paths aligned, even as you pursue individual goals. Balancing personal growth with shared growth is another key strategy. As you work on your individual ambitions, also prioritize activities that strengthen the relationship. This could be as simple as planning a regular date night, working on a joint project, or setting shared goals. When both partners feel fulfilled individually and as a couple, the relationship becomes a source of strength and inspiration. Finally, be mindful of jealousy or insecurity. It's natural to feel uncertain when your partner is achieving something new or spending time on a personal pursuit. Instead of seeing their growth as a threat, view it as an opportunity to learn from and support each other. Open communication can help navigate these feelings and reinforce the idea that both of you are working toward the same ultimate goal, a happy, thriving partnership. The takeaway is clear. Personal growth isn't just beneficial for individuals, it's essential for relationships. When partners encourage each other's independence and celebrate each other's wins, they create a dynamic that's not only fulfilling but also deeply supportive. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build a lasting partnership by setting shared goals and maintaining consistency. For now, remember this. A thriving relationship is one where both people feel free to grow, knowing they have a partner who believes in their potential and is cheering them on every step of the way. Chapter 8. Building a partnership that lasts. A lasting relationship doesn't just happen, it's built. It requires intention, effort, and a shared commitment to growth. Many couples find themselves stuck in survival mode, simply going through the motions to get through the day. But transitioning from surviving to thriving is what separates fleeting connections from lifelong partnerships. Thriving in a relationship means creating a dynamic where both partners feel fulfilled, valued, and excited about the future they're building together. The foundation of a lasting partnership lies in shared goals, mutual respect, and consistent effort. Shared goals give the relationship direction and purpose. Whether it's building a family, achieving financial stability, or supporting each other's dreams, having a common vision creates a sense of unity. It reminds both partners that they're working toward the same destination, even if their individual paths look different. Mutual respect is equally critical. Respect means valuing your partner's feelings, opinions, and individuality. It's about listening without judgment, appreciating their contributions, and treating them as an equal. Without respect, even the strongest love can erode under the weight of dismissiveness or resentment. Respect fosters trust, which is the bedrock of any thriving relationship. Consistent effort is what keeps the connection alive. Relationships don't maintain themselves, they require regular attention and care. This doesn't mean grand gestures every day, it's the small, consistent actions that make the biggest difference. A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply showing up when it matters most reinforces the bond between partners. Let me share the story of Emily and Ryan, a couple who turned their relationship into a lifelong partnership by committing to mutual growth and support. Emily and Ryan had been together for over a decade and, like many couples, found themselves drifting into routine. They loved each other deeply but realized that their relationship had become more about logistics than connection. Conversations revolved around work schedules, bills, and family obligations, leaving little room for intimacy or joy. Determined to rekindle their connection, Emily and Ryan decided to prioritize their relationship. They began by setting shared goals. They created a vision board of what they wanted their future to look like, traveling together, supporting their children's dreams, and eventually starting a small business they were both passionate about. These goals reignited their sense of partnership and gave them something to work toward as a team. They also implemented regular check-ins, carving out time each week to talk about their feelings, challenges, and successes. These check-ins became a safe space where they could express gratitude, address concerns, and celebrate progress. By making communication a priority, Emily and Ryan deepened their emotional intimacy and built a stronger foundation of trust. To keep the spark alive, they made an effort to create new experiences together. Whether it was trying a cooking class, exploring a new hiking trail, or planning spontaneous date nights, these activities brought fun and excitement back into their relationship. They also celebrated milestones, big and small, as a way to honor their journey together. From anniversaries to personal achievements, these celebrations reminded them of how far they'd come and how much they'd accomplished as a team. Emily and Ryan's story is a testament to the power of teamwork, trust, and a shared vision. By committing to mutual growth and consistent effort, they transformed their relationship from something that merely survived into a partnership that thrived. If you want to build a relationship that lasts, start by defining your shared goals. What do you want to achieve together? What does success look like for your partnership? These goals don't have to be set in stone, they can evolve as your relationship grows. The important thing is to create a roadmap that gives your relationship direction and purpose. Regular check-ins are another powerful practice. Set aside time each week or month to talk openly about your relationship. Ask each other questions like, "What's been going well? Is there anything we need to work on? And, how can I support you better?" These conversations keep communication channels open and ensure that small issues are addressed before they become major problems. Celebrating milestones is also essential for maintaining a thriving relationship. Milestones don't have to be grand or elaborate. They can be as simple as acknowledging a productive week, celebrating a career achievement, or marking an anniversary with a special dinner. These moments of recognition create positive memories and reinforce the value of your partnership. Keeping the spark alive requires creativity and effort. Over time, it's natural for routines to set in, but finding ways to inject excitement into the relationship can prevent it from feeling stagnant. Try new activities, revisit places that hold special meaning for you, or simply surprise each other with thoughtful gestures. The goal is to keep the relationship dynamic and engaging. Finally, never underestimate the power of gratitude. Showing appreciation for your partner's efforts, kindness, and presence strengthens the bond between you. Gratitude reminds both partners of the value they bring to the relationship and fosters a sense of mutual respect and admiration. The takeaway is clear. Lasting love is built on teamwork, trust, and a shared vision for the future. It's not about avoiding challenges but about facing them together with intention and care. In the next section, we'll wrap up this journey with a conclusion that ties together the key lessons and inspires you to create a relationship that truly lasts. For now, remember this. A thriving partnership isn't something you find, it's something you build, one day and one effort at a time. As we reach the end of this audiobook, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken together. We've explored the real reasons relationships fail, not because of a lack of love, but often because of misunderstandings, unmet needs, and missed opportunities for connection. Through each chapter, we've uncovered the tools and insights needed to not only identify these challenges but also address them with intention and care. We began by understanding how small cracks in a relationship's foundation, unresolved conflicts, unspoken expectations, and emotional disconnection, can grow over time. These issues may start subtly but, if left unaddressed, can lead to resentment and distance. Recognizing these early warning signs is the first step in preventing a relationship from faltering. From there, we explored the transformative power of communication. Healthy communication isn't just about talking, it's about understanding, listening, and approaching conversations with empathy. We learned how emotional intimacy serves as the glue that holds relationships together, and how vulnerability, trust, and quality time can help rebuild connections that feel lost. Conflict, though often feared, was reframed as an opportunity for growth. When handled constructively, disagreements can strengthen a relationship by fostering collaboration and deeper understanding. Similarly, aligning expectations and prioritizing mutual respect create a foundation for a thriving partnership. We also addressed the dangers of neglect and complacency. Relationships require consistent care and attention to flourish. Through intentional efforts, whether it's a date night, a heartfelt conversation, or a simple act of appreciation, we can prevent the slow erosion of connection. And, perhaps most importantly, we emphasized the value of individual growth within a relationship. Supporting each other's dreams and celebrating personal achievements allow both partners to thrive, making the relationship richer and more fulfilling. The lessons from this audiobook aren't just about avoiding failure, they're about building something extraordinary. A lasting relationship isn't about perfection, it's about effort, understanding, and mutual growth. It's about showing up every day with the intention to care, connect, and create a life together that feels meaningful and joyful. Let me share the story of Olivia and Mark, a couple who exemplify what it means to build a relationship that stands the test of time. Olivia and Mark met in college and fell in love quickly, but their relationship was tested by long-distance challenges, demanding careers, and the natural ebbs and flows of life. At one point, they found themselves on the brink of separation. They were arguing more often than not, and both felt like they were drifting apart. Instead of giving up, Olivia and Mark decided to fight for their relationship. They sat down and had an honest conversation about their struggles. Olivia admitted that she felt unappreciated, while Mark shared that he felt overwhelmed by the pressure to balance work and their relationship. That conversation became the foundation for change. They started small, setting aside one night a week for uninterrupted time together and practicing gratitude by expressing one thing they appreciated about each other daily. Over time, they worked on aligning their goals and supporting each other's growth. Olivia encouraged Mark to pursue a passion project he'd been putting off, and Mark made an effort to attend Olivia's work events to show his support. They also sought professional guidance, learning how to communicate effectively and resolve conflicts without tearing each other down. Their relationship didn't just survive, it thrived. Years later, they reflected on that difficult period and realized it had been the catalyst for creating a partnership stronger than they'd ever imagined. Olivia and Mark's story is a reminder that challenges in a relationship aren't the end, they're an opportunity. When both partners are willing to put in the effort, even the most difficult situations can lead to growth, connection, and a love that endures. Now, it's your turn. Whether you're in a relationship, seeking one, or reflecting on past experiences, take these lessons into your life. Practice open communication, nurture emotional intimacy, and never stop prioritizing growth, both individually and as a couple. Remember that love isn't static, it evolves and requires care to remain strong. The relationships we build are among the most significant parts of our lives. They bring joy, meaning, and companionship, but they also challenge us to be better, to listen more deeply, love more fully, and grow in ways we never imagined. Lasting love isn't about avoiding mistakes or finding the perfect partner. It's about showing up, every day, with the willingness to grow and the courage to stay connected. As you move forward, keep this in mind. A thriving relationship isn't something you stumble upon, it's something you create. By applying the tools and insights from this audiobook, you have the power to build connections that endure, partnerships that inspire, and love that truly lasts. The journey is yours, and the possibilities are endless. Thank you for joining me on this journey to understanding the real reasons relationships fail, and how to make yours thrive.